Observer effect. You lie down, but something in you continues to move, not the body, not even the thoughts, but a quiet unraveling, like mist lifting from the surface of a lake just before dawn. You are not falling asleep, you are arriving somewhere deeper. This space between wakefulness and surrender is not empty. It's full of messages, soft, slow, unseen. It's where the noise of the day loses its grip, and what's left is you. Your breath begins to slow, not because you force it to, but because the body remembers. It remembers what it feels like to not hold so much, to not brace against the invisible, to not prepare, perform, protect. This moment is not about becoming someone. It's about unbecoming everything you thought you had to be. As the muscles loosen, the mind follows. You feel the edges of yourself blur, and what's left is not chaos, but quiet, a different kind of intelligence, one that doesn't speak in words, but in sensation, in rhythm, in stillness. This is the sacred threshold, the pause between intentions, where identity rests, where the self doesn't need to try, where the field begins to listen. Quantum manifestation doesn't begin with a thought. It begins with presence, with the energy beneath the thought, with the emotional signature that lingers longer than any sentence. You do not shape your reality by what you wish for, but by how safe you feel to receive it. And that safety begins here. Right now, your nervous system is shifting, not dramatically, not loudly, but gently, like a tide moving out, revealing what was buried beneath the waves. Your shoulders fall, your jaw softens, your breath lengthens. These are not just signs of rest, they are signs of access to the field that holds every version of you, past, present, potential. You are not stepping away from life. You are stepping inward, into the space where life reorganizes itself. This is not withdrawal, it is quantum alignment. You don't need to know how it works. You only need to feel the truth of it. In this state, your brain shifts frequency. Waves become slower, deeper, wider. Neuroplasticity awakens, and the subconscious begins to rewire in the direction of calm, not fear. The observer effect doesn't just apply to particles, it applies to your attention, to the way you notice your own sensations, without judgment, to the way you witness your own being, without trying to fix it. What you observe, you influence, and what you observe with love, you transform. Right now, you're not trying to become the next version of yourself. You're simply watching as the old one begins to fade like a dream dissolving in sunlight. You are not lost. You are loosening, unfolding, becoming softer than your old survival required. This softness is not weakness. It's the precondition for reception. It's what the field responds to, not the loudest desire, but the clearest frequency. And clarity comes when everything else gets quiet. So let it all drop. Let the day go. Let the effort dissolve like sand slipping through open fingers. Let the identity relax. Let the quantum field hold you in its silent reconfiguration. You're not manifesting with thought. You're manifesting with vibration, with breath, with presence. And the quieter you become, the louder the universe listens. So tell me softly, as you drift toward the space behind thought, you may think the universe listens to your words, your affirmations, your intentions, your neatly spoken desires, but the quantum field is not attuned to language. It doesn't decode syllables. It feels vibration, and vibration is honest. It doesn't care what you say. It responds to what you are. You can speak of abundance, yet fume with the energy of fear. You can declare peace, yet pulse with unresolved tension. The field doesn't register performance, only resonance. And resonance is crafted not by thought, but by your nervous system, the deep instrument of your emotional truth. Your body becomes the tuner, your emotions, the music, and whether you like the melody or not, the field plays it back, not out of judgment, but out of coherence. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you're regulated to receive. This is why safety is the beginning of all transformation. Not external safety, but internal. The kind where your breath does not brace and your shoulders don't hold the sky. This isn't sabotage, it's memory. Your nervous system learned how to protect you, and it learned well. It broadcasts the emotional tones you once needed to survive. Hypervigilance, guardedness, self-doubt. These were not flaws, they were codes, adaptive frequencies, designed to keep you alive in the presence of unpredictability. But now, they echo long after the danger is gone. They shape your field without your consent. This is where your healing begins. Not by resisting these patterns, but by listening to them. With softness, with warmth. When your chest tightens, don't silence it. Sit beside it. When your stomach flutters, don't correct it. Comfort it. These are not obstacles to manifestation. They are the foundation of it. Because every emotion you repress still vibrates. It still speaks to the field, louder than any mantra ever could. True alignment isn't control, it's surrender. Emotional regulation isn't the art of suppression, it's the relearning of safety. To breathe fully in your own skin, to let your body soften into the now, to tell your system without words that the war is over. Only then does your frequency shift. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting what already is. The observer effect in quantum physics teaches that what we observe changes, but it is not the act of looking, it is the quality of the gaze, and the most transformative observation is one held without judgment. So tonight, you observe your own inner weather, the hum beneath your thoughts, the rhythm beneath your breath, not to fix it, but to become it. Because coherence begins in honesty, and honesty creates resonance. And the quantum field, it listens. It listens not to your declarations, but to your regulation. It listens to the signals of your breath, your heartbeat, your energy, not your words. So as your body rests, the universe does not hear effort. It hears the quiet of inner truth. It hears what is finally safe to receive. There is no need to push. No need to perform. The frequency of enough is not born from having. It is born from being. So be here, just as you are. And let your nervous system recalibrate gently, one soft moment at a time. You are not broken, only untuned. And now, you are tuning back to yourself. As your breath slows and your body quiets, ask yourself gently, what music have I been playing to the universe without knowing? What parts of me still sing survival, even when I long for peace? And what happens when that song changes? What will the field reflect back when the real you begins to hum? There is a moment, just before sleep, when your thoughts begin to soften, not disappear but dissolve into something quieter, something slower. Your mind, once a conductor of control, no longer holds the baton, and in this quiet surrender, something deeper begins to move. You are no longer trying to create reality. You are becoming porous to it. The truth is, your thoughts don't manifest. Your consciousness does. The thinking mind is a translator, a narrator, sometimes a protector, but it is not the source. Beneath the mind lives the observer, the silent presence that sees without clinging, that notices without rushing to fix, and it is this observer, this still awareness, that shapes the field. In quantum physics, the observer effect reveals a mystery, that the very act of observation changes reality. But this is not about watching something with intensity. It is about how you observe, not with fear or fixation, but with softness. When you observe life with resistance, reality collapses into rigidity. When you observe with rest, reality flows toward coherence. So tonight, let the mind rest. Let it take its seat beside you, no longer steering, only witnessing. You are not here to force outcomes. You are here to become a tuning fork for what is already moving toward you. There is no need to grip the future. There is only the breath, and with each exhale the grip loosens. not because you've given up, but because you've finally allowed. Your need to control comes not from greed, but from fear. Fear that if you stop thinking, reality will abandon you. But the truth is, reality is listening more closely when you are quiet. The wave of possibility, infinite, wild, untamed, is collapsed into form by focus, and if that focus is tense, the form becomes tight. But if that focus is restful, open, trusting, then life meets you with the same openness. This is where the shift happens. Not through mental rehearsal, not through spiritual performance, but through allowing your awareness to soften, not sharpen. This isn't the manifestation of effort. This is the manifestation of presence. The less you try, the more reality flows. The less you grasp, the more it gives. And it's not about passivity, it's about coherence. When your inner state is calm, your frequency is steady, and the field, that vast, intelligent field of entangled energy, responds to coherence like a mirror to light, not because you commanded it to, but because you matched it. You didn't demand the universe align with your plan. You became the shape that the universe could align with. You are not thinking your way into a new reality. You are relaxing into one that's already trying to arrive. And so, your thoughts begin to slow. They are no longer architects of control, but clouds in a wide sky. You are not their prisoner. You are the space they move through. The more you identify with that space, that clear, calm awareness, the more you allow the quantum field to show you what exists beyond logic, beyond habit, beyond fear. Your body follows. Your chest loosens. Your jaw lets go. Your pulse, once racing toward tomorrow, now rests in the arms of now. And in this stillness, the observer is activated, not by doing, but by being. The wave collapses, not because you forced it to, but because you surrendered to the moment. And in that surrender, life organizes itself in ways your mind could never have choreographed. This is the paradox of the shift. The moment you stop trying to control reality is the moment it starts to respond. So let your breath become the only story you need to follow. Let your mind, once filled with tasks and timelines, become soft soil for something ancient and wordless to grow. And ask yourself, not with urgency but with wonder, what if the most powerful way to change your reality is to stop trying to? You may speak your desires with clarity. You may script your affirmations, visualize your dreams, and convince your conscious mind that you are ready. But beneath the surface, your body may whisper a different truth, a quieter, older truth, one shaped by fear, by survival, by memory. And it is this truth that the universe hears. The nervous system does not lie. It does not perform. It does not rationalize. It only signals. If your body learned to associate receiving with danger, attention with judgment, love with abandonment, money with stress, then no matter how loudly your voice affirms your worth, your body may still brace itself against it. This is not sabotage. This is protection. What looks like resistance is often a well-rehearsed defense. The nervous system stores patterns in the language of sensation. A tight chest when asked to receive, a flutter in the belly when things get too calm, a subtle urge to overthink, overgive, overanalyze, because stillness once meant danger, because peace once felt like the silence before the storm. So tonight, you listen, not to your thoughts, but to your tissues, to your breath, to the quiet hum of your nervous system, the electricity that runs through your being, gently but faithfully translating your inner world into frequency. This is the missing piece in so many manifestation journeys. You cannot align with what your body doesn't feel safe holding. You may want the relationship, the abundance, the freedom, but if your nervous system has only known chaos, your subconscious may equate stability with threat, and the field feels that dissonance. Quantum manifestation is not only about desire, it is about coherence. When your body, mind, and energy send the same signal, the field responds. But when your mouth says yes and your cells say no, the message becomes fragmented. The universe doesn't punish this, it simply mirrors it. So now, breathe. Let your awareness travel gently down into your body, into the place where fear first curled in, into the tension that always returns when hope appears, not to fix it, but to witness it. The same way the quantum field responds to observation, your inner world begins to shift when you offer it non-judgmental presence. This is where healing begins, not in effort, not in analysis, but in felt safety, in creating enough inner space for the body to unwind, for the trauma loops to soften, for the vigilance to pause, just long enough for something new to register, not just as a thought, but as a lived, sensory reality. And so your breath becomes your bridge. Not the kind of breath that chases calm, but the kind that simply allows you breathe as if you are whispering to your nervous system. It's okay now, and slowly your system listens. The grip begins to release. The body no longer guards against the good. The signal you send to the field is no longer distorted by fear. It hums with safety, with coherence, with readiness that isn't just spoken but felt. This is when alignment becomes magnetic, when your energy no longer chases but invites, and you realize receiving was never about how much you wanted something. It was always about how safe your body felt when it came close. So tonight, let your body know it doesn't have to brace, it doesn't have to run, it doesn't have to overfunction to be loved. It can simply be, and being that quiet, unarmored being is enough. Let the tension fall. Let the muscles around your heart loosen. Let your breath deepen, as if it's being held by something older than fear. The field is listening, not to your words, but to your regulation. And as you drift into this soft place, the place where presence replaces performance, ask yourself gently, what if healing the signal is the most powerful message you could ever send? You do not receive through logic. You do not receive through will. You receive through resonance, and resonance is born from safety. It does not matter how vividly you can visualize your future, if your body still associates that future with danger. It does not matter how deeply you want love, abundance, or freedom. If a part of you is still flinching, still bracing, still waiting for the fallout, this is the unseen gate, the hidden threshold in every manifestation journey. The portal is not opened by effort, but by safety. Not by how hard you try, but by how deeply you can soften. And so we begin here, not with force, but with permission. You are allowed to stop bracing. You are allowed to stop rehearsing the collapse. You are allowed to stop guarding against the very thing you long for. Because manifestation is not about chasing, it's about allowing, and you cannot allow what you do not feel safe to hold. Your nervous system has a memory, older than your current desires, a memory stored in tissues and tension, not just thoughts. Perhaps you were given love with conditions. Perhaps success meant isolation. Perhaps rest was punished. These experiences etched patterns into your body, patterns that say, I want it, but I'm not safe with it. And so when something good begins to approach, a part of you tenses. It mistrusts the calm. It overthinks the timing. It prepares for loss. And this very preparation becomes resistance, not because you're broken, but because you're wired for survival. And the unknown, even when beautiful, can feel like a threat. This is why creating safety is the most powerful form of manifestation. Safety rewrites the signal. It tells your field, I can hold this. I can stay present with this. I do not need to collapse when goodness enters. So now, let your body be the first to receive. Not a goal, not a thing, but a breath that doesn't reach forward, but settles downward. A breath that says, right here is safe. You feel the tension around your ribs soften. Your stomach no longer tightens as a habit of vigilance. Your jaw, once clenched in anticipation, begins to melt. This is not laziness. This is alignment. When your body says yes, The quantum field listens, not because you've said the right words, but because your frequency speaks a language deeper than thought. This is how the observer effect plays out internally. When you stop observing your life through the eyes of fear and begin observing it through peace, the wave of potential collapses into a reality that matches your coherence. This is how the quantum mind moves, not by controlling outcomes, but by resting into trust. Safety isn't the reward, it is the requirement. You receive not when you prove you're ready, but when your body stops preparing for pain. And in that softness, reality shifts. So now, gently, feel into the parts of you that never learned how to feel safe with enough. The parts that always expected it to be taken. The parts that believed receiving would make you weak, or visible, or alone. Place your awareness there, not to fix it, but to remind it. We're not in that story anymore. Let your nervous system unlearn the chase. Let your mind surrender the narrative of struggle. Let your energy become an invitation, not through effort, but through openness. You are not behind. You are not blocked. You are simply rewiring your inner world to become a match for peace. And as the breath deepens, your field quiets. The friction fades. The receiving begins. Not because you've reached for it, but because you've made space for it. What if nothing is missing? What if the portal opens the moment you stop preparing for it to close? There is a quiet language within you, deeper than words, older than thought. It flows in waves, moves in pulses, rises in tremors of feeling. Emotion, not a flaw to manage, not a weakness to hide, but energy, pure energy in motion. And yet, you were taught to fear it, to swallow your grief, to silence your rage, to put a smile over the ache, not because you were wronged, but because the world feared the rawness of your truth. But energy, when buried, does not disappear. It hardens, it tenses in your shoulders, it tightens in your chest. It distorts your frequency without asking for permission. And the quantum field, listen, because the field does not respond to appearances. It responds to coherence. You cannot mask your way into alignment. You must feel your way back home. So tonight, you do not fix what you feel. You do not shame it, bypass it, or label it as low vibration. You let it move. Emotion is not chaos. Emotion is intelligence. It shows you where you once needed to freeze. It shows you what your body still remembers and what your soul is ready to release. There is no need to dramatize it. There is no need to perform healing. You simply become still enough to listen. Perhaps tonight, there is grief in your bones. Let it rise. Let it speak. Let it flow. It is not here to drown you. It is here to clear the signal. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are not less spiritual because you cry. You are not unworthy because your nervous system remembers pain. In truth, every time you soften into what you feel, you return to vibrational truth. Emotion is not in the way of your manifestation. Unfelt emotion is, because when you suppress your feelings, you send a scrambled signal to the field. You say one thing with your words and another with your vibration, and the field responds not to the words, but to the energy. So let the emotion move through you like a current, not to get rid of it, but to allow it to complete. Feelings are like tides. They do not want to stay. They want to pass through, and when you let them, you become clear, coherent, clean in your signal. You don't manifest by holding high vibes all the time. You manifest by becoming honest. This is the sacred work, to sit with sadness without needing it to leave, to feel anger without fearing who you'll become, to hold space for joy without anticipating its end. You do not need perfect emotions. You need safe permission to feel what's real, because once it moves, you move. Once you feel, you shift. Once you open, the frequency changes. Your heart expands, your chest loosens, and the energy, once trapped, becomes fuel, not weight. The signal clears, the flow returns. This is emotional alchemy, not in the mind, but in the body. Not through theory, but through permission. You begin to trust your own waters. You begin to hear your inner rhythm. You begin to realize that your emotional truth is not a threat to alignment. It is alignment. So tonight, feel without fear. Let your breath carry what words cannot. Let your body speak in its own sacred tongue. You do not have to understand it all. You only have to allow it. What if your emotions are not here to interrupt your manifestation, but to prepare your body to truly receive it? You are not who you think you are. You are who you learned to be, to survive. You are a collection of signals, adaptations and roles, stitched together in moments when safety felt conditional. The one who pleased, the one who performed, the one who stayed silent, the one who never needed too much. But none of that is the truth of you. And when you try to manifest from that place, from that role, the field doesn't respond with new beginnings. It echoes what you still believe you must be. Because energy does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to identity, to the story your nervous system still holds as true. And most of the time that story is ancient, older than your desires, older than your thoughts. It was written long before you asked for something different. So the field waits, not for better effort, but for a deeper unraveling. The collapse of identity is not a breakdown. It is a return, a melting of what was never truly you, a soft death of the performance, the quiet unmasking of the self beneath all selves. And it doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it begins as confusion, as emptiness, as stillness that feels like stagnation. You may think you're stuck, but you're not stuck. You're shedding. The mask you once wore to belong no longer fits your frequency. The roles you rehearsed so well, they no longer feel like home. And this is the invitation, not to rebuild quickly, not to rush into new roles, but to rest in the holy space between what you were and what you are becoming. There is a term in quantum physics, superposition, a state where particles hold many possibilities at once, none yet collapsed. This is what your identity enters during transformation, a sacred pause, an in-between, a quantum shift that doesn't shout, it whispers. Your mind may panic. It wants definition. It wants clarity, a name, a shape. But the soul does not rush. The soul unfolds. So as your old identity dissolves, be kind. There is grief in letting go of who you thought you needed to be. There is fear in softening control. But there is also power in no longer needing to perform safety. You begin to notice things. The patterns you once called just how I am start to feel foreign. The relationships that thrived on your self-abandonment begin to feel heavy. The goals you once chased no longer feel like truth. It's not failure, it's freedom. Your subconscious is rewriting the script, not through willpower, through nervous system repair, through rest, through awareness, through presence. Every time you choose softness over proving, silence over explanation, truth over validation, you collapse the old wave and allow a new timeline to form. This is where quantum manifestation begins to work, not by chasing, but by becoming, not by controlling, but by dissolving, not by fixing the outside, but by unmasking the inside. Who would you be if you no longer needed to be needed? Who would you become if you stopped holding everything together? The collapse of identity is not about being lost. It's about returning to your original frequency. And yes, it feels vulnerable, raw, like standing naked in a storm. But that's because the old armor is falling. The protection built from pain is no longer aligned with your path. The universe does not require you to be who you were. It only asks that you become available to who you are. So breathe here. Let yourself not know. Let yourself feel strange without the script. Let the space feel empty before it becomes full. There is no need to rush back into a name, a role, a mission. You are allowed to float between selves. You are allowed to not be a brand. You are allowed to unravel, because this unraveling is sacred. The wave collapses, the old identity dissolves, and the field, the one that has always been listening, begins to respond, not to the version of you that was rehearsed, but to the version that is real. And maybe that's the secret. Maybe manifestation was never about getting what you want. Maybe it was about remembering who you are. Once you no longer need to pretend. There is something sacred about letting go. Not the kind of letting go that feels like giving up, but the kind that melts the grip, softens the chase. So much of what you once called desire was actually urgency. The nervous system contracted, the breath shallow, the thoughts wrapped tightly around an imagined lack. And in that state, you kept reaching, kept asking, kept trying. But the field, the quantum field, does not hear words. It hears your frequency. It doesn't respond to how much you want something. It responds to the emotional posture you hold while wanting it. When you vibrate from hunger, the signal it receives is absence. When you vibrate from stillness, it receives coherence. Desire is not a problem. It's a compass. But when desire is laced with fear or tension, it distorts the signal. You may say, "I'm ready," but your energy quietly whispers, "I'm not safe without this." And that whisper is what the field hears. So what happens when you stop chasing? When you stop bracing? When you stop trying to force life into your timeline? Something unexpected begins. Your body relaxes, your mind softens, and the field around you starts to reconfigure, not out of demand, but resonance. The observer effect isn't just a scientific concept, it's a mirror of your internal safety. The quieter the observer, the more reality listens. You don't manifest through control. You manifest through coherence, through the gentle alignment of breath, emotion, and belief, through the kind of inner safety that says, "I no longer need this thing to complete me. I'm already whole." And that's why it can come now. There's a quiet power in becoming the version of yourself who no longer grasps, who no longer performs worthiness to be chosen, who no longer equates desire with desperation. This is the shift. This is the unspoken turning point. When you no longer chase it, you embody it. You've been told that manifestation is about vision, about action, about speaking it into existence. But what if that was only the surface layer? What if true manifestation is the nervous system's ability to hold the frequency of already having it, even while it's unseen? You become what you feel safe to receive, and safety is not built through affirmation. It's built through regulation, through allowing your emotional system to trust again, to breathe without gripping, to relax without fear, to feel joy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Every time you soften, your signal becomes clearer. Every time you exhale fully, your field attunes more deeply to receiving. And every time you stop trying to earn it, you make space for it to arrive. Sleep, then, is not just a physical act. It's a metaphysical surrender. It's where the mind releases control and the body restores alignment. It's the moment where quantum manifestation becomes a felt state, not through effort, but through release. When you're no longer looking for it, you start radiating it. Let your breath become the bridge. Inhale, as though you already have it. Exhale, as though nothing is missing. Let every slow breath be a quiet yes to the version of you who no longer begs, but allows. And as you drift tonight, ask yourself, what was I chasing that's already mine in vibration? What would happen if I stopped chasing and simply tuned to its frequency? Let your body answer, not with words, but with softness. Let your heart listen, not for promises, but for peace. And let your soul remember, not what to do, but what to become. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment it starts finding you. Sleep now, as though life has already said yes.